Hey, well, this is Pastor Steve. We are in for a treat. I'm here at the sanctuary for the Word Church at the main campus here in Warrensville, and I'm excited to be able to interview Pastor Dr. R.A. Vernon. Dr. Vernon, thank you for opening up the church and allowing us to be here to talk about leadership.
It is a privilege to have you.
Awesome. So we're going to just jump to some questions and see your thoughts on leadership.
Yes.
So why is leadership so important?
Well, first of all, thank you for even considering to ask me about leadership. I think leadership is critical, but someone has truthfully said that a leader with no followers is just taking a walk.
Yes, yes.
So if there are no real incentives to help people get better, then it becomes an exercise in futility. Leadership is critical because in the absence of good or pure leadership, sadly, people will follow the antithesis.
Gotcha.
There's something in us that wants to be led, that wants to be groomed, discipled, as it were. And so I take it very seriously.
Awesome. So our theme for the conference this year is next. What is preparing leaders for the next thing God is doing in their lives, pastorate, even developing their leaders, like who will be the next leader coming up in your ministry. What are your thoughts on next?
I think we should always be looking outward. Now in my mid to late 40s, I'm already thinking about succession. My son is finishing up at Ashland in the next couple of years, headed right to seminary, spiritual sons in the ministry. Christ was thinking next.
That's good.
As soon as he got started in ministry, he's thinking, I only have 3 years. And he's thinking next. He's thinking, who picks up the mantle? If I put my heart in these 12, then the 120, then the 500, now the whole world. So I think whatever else leadership is, it is always, there is no success without a successor. So I think one of the things, and we don't claim to have a monopoly on leadership here at the Word, but I think if we've been successful at anything since the year 2000, it was always kind of thinking forward.
Gotcha.
And when you're a forward thinker, you'll take some shots.
Sure.
I mean, I think most people know we've been called everything from a cult to a, but now going into our 19th year, 20 next year, people are coming around.
Gotcha.
Saying maybe they were just thinking forward. So you can't be afraid to go against the grain, get a sense of what's coming. Matter of fact, you'll be here, our theme this year for the gathering of the shepherds.
Yes.
Where pastors come in from all over the world, along with local sons like you right here in the city. And I train pastors and their spouses. And our theme this year, as you know, is change or die.
Yes.
I mean, change or die.
Yes.
And I don't really say that as an embellishment. I really think that anybody who doesn't change in terms of the pastorate, in terms of where things are going with social media and technology, ministries, businesses, let's go here. Even a marriage can die.
That's good.
Yeah, if a person is not thinking about, okay, what does my wife need now? She's not the same woman she was when I married her. She's growing, she's developing, her attractions are broadening. So, man, I can go on and on about that. But yeah, we have to be thinking next. We have to be thinking forward.
So when you think about changing and next, and being willing to take shots, so the idea of risk taking comes into play, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. You have to take a risk. I often tell my people, go ahead and fail at it so you can get it out your system.
Gotcha.
I mean, there are people watching who know I have several campuses, but I also have several that have closed.
I got you.
Because I went for it. I never just take for granted, or as the scripture says, at ease in Zion.
Yeah.
I'm always looking and taking risks. Now, that doesn't mean we just haphazardly jump out on something without thinking it through. The scripture says a man starts a building and can't finish it. He didn't count the cost. Persons would laugh at him. So it's discernment, it's planning. But it was Napoleon who said, take the time to deliberate. But when the time for action has come, stop thinking and go in. It always reminds me of something Dr. Sam Chan, one of the foremost leaders in our nation, who helps a lot of pastors in terms of leading. In the 2008 recession, I'll never forget, I called him and I said, man, the economy, recession, I'm feeling this idea of opening up another campus downtown. The problem is I'm all preached out. I'm preaching 3 or 4 times a weekend. And I got this idea to put myself on the screen and they just watch me. I said, but the issue is they say a predominantly African-American church would never watch a pastor on screen. That we're traditional that way. That's more for our Anglo friends. And he says something I shall never forget. He said, Dr. Vernon, why don't you be the first one to fail at it?
Ah, that's good.
Oh.
That's good.
He said,
that's
at least
good.
be the first one to fail.
Yes.
I've never been afraid to be the first one to fail.
Got you.
So in the Cleveland area, Northeast Ohio, those who live in this area know we're always trying something, trusting God, and often, you know, not succeeding as much as we want. I do know there comes a place where faith has to kick in. And one decides, I'm going to go for it.
Sure.
There comes a place in pastors' careers. I'm going to build this building. I'm going to start this new service. I'm going to open this business.
Yes.
There are many leaders watching. Whatever sphere of influence you have, at some point you have to take a risk.
Yes, nice. So that would bring up kind of as well, thinking about risk taking and going against the grain. Right. So how do you deal with the rejection and criticism that comes as a result of that, of doing something different that the church may have not seen, or even your family may have not seen before? How do you deal with that?
You deal with it painfully at times. I mean, none of us, even people who say they don't care what people think, they care what people think. Yes, I mean, to a certain extent. I don't let it drive me crazy, but no one wants to be viewed as a person who failed or a person who didn't hear God. Again, I've taken my share of hits. I now really believe, again, we're in our 19th year here. We started in 2000. And so a lot of things that I've been able to do, and I say this humbly, so many other pastors in our city are trying now.
Sure.
What was crazy and cultish in 2000 has now become the norm.
Yes.
I remember when I first started playing our commercials on secular radio. Now, this is from the president of 93 FM. This is not something I'm making up. I'll never forget, they told me, you are the first church to ever put a commercial on our station.
That's good.
It just dawned on me one day, all of us were coming on Christian radio, and God bless Christian radio. And we were back to back, me, then another pastor, then another pastor, then another pastor. And one day I woke up and said, they're getting enough preaching on this station.
I understand.
Like, I want a new audience.
Yes, yes.
And I called our staff together and said, I'm going to call 93 FM. And I thought maybe they reject me. Then I figured out it wasn't even the red blood of Jesus that mattered to them. It was just green.
I understand. Got you.
And as long as I had green, they were like, put it on. Again, what is he doing on secular radio? Jesus said, I think I came to seek and to save those who are lost.
Yes.
So I have a sneaky suspicion that if Jesus was here, he'd be on 107.9.
Right. Reaching out to people.
He'd be on second places. So so you have to have the courage to go first. Now, I do think I've been able to plow the runway for new pastors.
Sure.
Plow the road. I didn't know that one of my goals was kind of, or one of the calls of my life was to be a kind of John the Baptist, as it were, in terms of marketing, breaking through those secular walls, a kind of forerunner. Now guys are coming behind me. You see billboards every place, and I love it. I don't look at it like, oh, we did that first. Who cares? Sure. You know, as long as God gets the glory out of it. So to answer your question more succinctly, it does require some courage. If you're first and you're willing to do something different, people don't normally like something different.
Yeah. So Pastor Vernon, let's switch gears a little bit and let's talk about bivocational pastors, those who are working full time at a job, but then also working full time at church. Pastoring. I know for myself, I was bivocational as a church planter for 4 years, and then 2 years at Mount Calvary. And only 2 years ago, I went full time at the church only. What are your thoughts and encouragement for bivocational pastors?
The first thing I would say is that is a myth. All pastors are full time.
Yes.
Even if they work another job.
Gotcha.
So I know the idea of bivocational. Number one, they're my heroes. I don't, you know, I was blessed when I first started pastoring a local Baptist church here in Cleveland that didn't want me anymore.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
Love them forever. If they hadn't locked me out, you wouldn't be interviewing.
I got you.
So hence my first book, The Blessed Behind Closed Doors. Nothing but good things to say about them. They gave me a chance when nobody knew my name. So I'll always love them. But I'll never forget when I first started, I was working construction. I was the supervisor, working 10, 12 hours. I had always wanted to be a pastor. My story is different. I don't have a Jonah narrative. I am doing the only thing I've ever wanted to do.
Gotcha.
Before I knew there was a mega church, before I knew about television cameras and maybe having a nice house to live in, all I ever wanted to be was a pastor. Not, as a matter of fact, as you know, in the 80s and 70s, it was the equivalent of wanting to be a school teacher.
Gotcha.
You had to love it because there was not a lot of money in it.
Sure, yes.
Me and you both remember, you had 500 members in a Cadillac.
Oh, he was huge.
You were like the Bishop Pope of the city.
Right.
And so having no idea, so people see your glory, they don't know your story. I didn't ask for all of this. People ask me, did you see all this coming? No. Did you believe God for all this? No. Favor, it happened. I'm just trying to keep my arms around it all. This was not my goal, I didn't know about that. You cannot even want what you haven't been exposed to.
Oh, that's good.
And in our city, no one had done it. I had not seen it. So, you know, I just wanted to love people. But I say that to say, so when I was working construction, the church called me, Baptist church here in Cleveland. I'm working construction and doing both. I would literally work 12 hours, didn't even have a shower, had a sink. I would wash up in the sink after church. Putting my full suit on. Remember, that was full suit days. I didn't know, you know, back in the day, the Baptist church, you put on your full suit.
That's right. Put that tie
on. For counseling. I mean, so I didn't think I could just put on a sweater. So I go from construction clothes to my full suit in the evening and do that from like 5 to 9. And fortunate and thank God for me, that only when the church began to explode pretty quickly. So about 6 months in, maybe less than that, I went to them and said, I think, you know, we're doing well enough for me to be full-time. And they voted in the next church meeting. And since then, I've done nothing but pastor.
Praise God.
Now in my 20th year. But for those who do it, number one, 50 tithers can take care of a pastor.
That's good.
50 tithers committed who just make a medium income of $30,000, $40,000 a year. The pastor could be full-time. So I think every church's goal. See, I don't want my pastor, you'll love this. I don't want my pastor thinking about himself.
Gotcha.
I want him thinking about me.
Oh, that's good.
That's good. Your pastor's not Jesus or Paul. People kill me saying, why don't you be like Jesus and Paul? Well, there are two things. That means you're not going to have sex and you'll be dead by 33.
Gotcha.
So unless you're sure about that, don't just throw out a juxtaposition of Paul and Jesus. I understand the heart of Jesus, the heart of Paul, but neither have children. Neither are making love to a woman. Neither have college tuitions. Neither have insurances to pay. Your pastor does. He needs money.
That's good.
She needs a house. They need insurance on their life. They need college tuition money. They need groceries. So if they have children, their mind is going to be on their family before the ministry.
Gotcha.
I like and thank God for the Word Church that they've always positioned me. I don't even know, and I say this in all humility, what my utility bills are. And I don't say that in a bad way. They've taken that on because they don't want me thinking about that. I got sons like you across the city to cover. I got thousands of people. So the more freed up a pastor's mind can be. My wife and I wake up every day thinking about how to make Cleveland better, Akron better, our leaders better. So to the person who's doing both, they are my heroes. I would argue, I believe that if you're going to pastor, God's will is for you to do it all the time.
That's good. That's good. So what about the encouragement for the pastor who is at, 50 people, 75 people of looking towards development? Because they may not be able to go to seminary. So they may not have the finances for that. Do you have any suggestions on training and, even, you know, some thoughts on some good theological
Shameless
books.
plug.
Okay.
Come to Dr. R.A. Vernon's conference.
Come on now.
The Gathering of the Shepherds. As you often know, I often like to say that we like to throw some things about seminary out there, you know, having matriculated through Ashland and preaching homiletics, hermeneutics, church growth. As you know, my D-man is in church growth, but I also love to talk systematic theology. So I always tell pastors, if not formal, at least informally, read everything. I was reading last night, said I wasn't going to tell nobody, James Cone, last love letter to black people before he went to heaven. There are black preachers who've never engaged Cone, Gaymore. I mean, they're reading Paul Tillich and Bultmann, German theologians, but now this whole black idea of theology. How do we see ourselves as African Americans? Liberation theology, those on the margins. Jesus is always, one of Cone's book, he's always the God of the rejected, or we're dealing with this whole idea of social justice and how do we see biblical text. So yeah, with Google now, and there's just no excuse for any pastor not to at least be well read. But I would say even some online things, engaging some pastors in our city, and shameless plug, Dr. William Myers, who, as you know, professor of New Testament at Ashland and the McQuarrie Center, right here in our city. If it wasn't for the McQuarrie Center, I wouldn't have gotten my master's, my D-man. If one is committed to trying. So I would say to every pastor, in terms of cultural hermeneutics, didactic criticism, cultural criticism, narrative criticism, even these terms sound foreign to guys who haven't pursued, but it just makes your preaching so much broader. So if not formal, at least informally, read everything you can.
That's very good, very good. Now pushing towards the administration side of ministry. I find
The God of the Oppressed by James Cone. I got to quote him right.
All right, gotcha.
The God of the Oppressed by Cone. I wouldn't have been able to sleep tonight.
No problem.
Go ahead.
I appreciate that.
Yes.
So switching kind of a little bit, because we, you know, thinking about preaching and teaching, but the other side of ministry is also on that leadership, administration, management aspect that I think a lot of for pastors it's foreign to them, and they're hesitant on pushing in that direction. What are your thoughts to encourage them to open up to that?
Well, number one, leading is a gift. It is. We often minimize it, but it is a gift. I mean, I have so many weak areas. I would have to say one of my strengths, and at my age, it's not about false humility. Always know what you're not good at and be clear about it. And then at this point in my life, I don't have time for false humility. I know what I'm decent at. Leading, marketing, preach, teach are my strong areas. That's what I do. There's some pastors who that's not their strongest gift. They love preaching. So this whole idea of staffing your weaknesses, people don't know. I love to talk and I love words. Even right now, I don't know the difference between a comma and a period on most sentences.
I understand.
I hate grammar. Now, when I'm speaking, you wouldn't know it, but in terms of writing, does a hyphen go there? Does a period go there? So I staff that. I need writers around me because everything we do is words and things of that nature. In terms of leading, managing, if one is going to pastor significantly, it takes some leadership. And I think a lot of that has to flow from the top. I would seriously even consider not pastoring if I didn't have a strong leading gift.
That's good.
If I love preaching, then just preach. Hit the road, Jack.
You're revivalist.
Yes, but in terms of, I'm dealing with probably, as we sit here, and I don't want to embellish, probably 10 major issues right now that I have to balance in my mind in terms of campuses. I mean, at this level of ministry with, you know, Akron, downtown, we make some transitions in Akron as we speak. My downtown campus, as we're sitting here, they're getting ready to feed twice today. Our pantry's happening next door. I'm dealing with attorneys, accountants. I'm dealing with television stuff, local television stations, national. I'm trying to build. So one has to be thinking leadership. One has to be thinking like a leader and reading everything, reading Maxwell, you know, reading Good to Great, reading some of the significant classic texts on leading. I keep something theological in front of me to read.
Yes.
I normally keep something Black theology,
okay,
where I'm challenging myself,
mm-hmm.
and I keep something leadership in front of me.
Nice.
Both secular and sacred.
Okay.
Because I'm bouncing between. There's some wonderful secular ideas that work.
Yes, yes.
And so, yeah, leadership to me, you have to keep sharpening that saw.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, Dr. Vernon, this was amazing. I felt like I should be taking notes, but I can be able to rewind the video, so I'm good, right?
The questions were so brilliant. You're throwing me these softballs. It's easy to hit them.
Yeah.
Hit them out the. Thank you, man. You're great. And I need to say to you, I'm so proud of you. I was just there in Mount Calvary and seeing your place and your spirit of humility. And I don't want your members. I'm headed tonight to Kentucky. One of your brothers in the Shepherd's Connection is celebrating 10 years. And I'm taking my book, Help My Pastors Under Pressure.
Nice.
Because so many times people don't know the pressure of a pastor. Pressure to pray, pressure to plan, pressure to perform, pressure to preach, pressure to, all these things are real pressures. And as I look at you, I just don't want those precious persons at Mount Calvary or those even at this conference to take for granted your spirit, your level of leadership. And I'm just so humbled that you even consider me your pastor. And in my city, you know,
I understand.
I have to be honest. I covered some 300-400 pastors, and as you know, California, Detroit, the Carolinas, and very few in the Cleveland area. And for you to say, no, this is who God has called me to. Don't tell me who you're over until you tell me who you're under.
Yes.
I'm under Joy Johnson, Akron,
Amen.
Ohio, till I die. And the fact that you are submitted to leadership, I'm just so proud of you and your wife and all that you're doing.
Thank you, Pastor.
Bless you.
I appreciate you. I appreciate you.
Love you, brother.
Love you too. Thank you.
All right.